Hi! It's always been my dream to visit Japan, and last year I finally got to do it. And honestly, it lived up to every expectation and more. So today I thought I'd do a kind of chill, relaxed, comfortable sit-down video to talk about my experience and hopefully convince you guys to try and go to Japan yourselves. The holiday started off as many holidays do with a flight, and throughout the whole of my experience in Japan, the worst part was the flight there and back. It was an 18.5-hour flight in economy class, so there wasn't much space and it was really difficult to sleep on the plane. But thankfully I'd brought a lot of entertainment and I watched a few movies as well. Once we got to our first destination, which was Tokyo, we had an interesting thing to tackle, which was the time difference. When we landed it was about 2 p.m, so we got out of the airport, which took a fair amount of hours, and then travelled into the main city to Shinjuku. This is where we were staying for the first part of our holiday and was the place we stayed at for the longest period of time. We went over to the hotel, got all our stuff sorted, I had a little nap, and then we went out and got some food. There really wasn't too much involved in day one, and we went to bed around 10 p.m. Japanese time and woke up about 3 p.m. the next day. The jet lag hit us pretty hard. We slept for 18 hours, but we didn't really feel the effects after that. On that first real day that we had, we explored a little bit of Shinjuku and visited a small shrine that's located really close to the Golden Guy. We had a look in a couple of the shops and I bought some manga, and then we went out for dinner. One of the most amazing things about Shinjuku was the amount of different food that was available. There were hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of restaurants, and we learned very quickly that the way restaurants work in Japan is if you want a certain type of food, you can get it in that restaurant, but you can't get anything else. We would walk around Shinjuku and kind of pick one of these hole-in-the-wall places and just enjoy our time in there. It was really fun trying out loads of different foods, and during our first stay in Tokyo, we tried out tempura, yakitori, and ramen. We had a really nice ramen place opposite our hotel. Just while I mentioned tempura, that was actually my favorite thing that I tried in Japan, but the food was unreal. It was honestly the best part of the whole trip. Over the next few days, we explored Tokyo, avoiding the kind of shopping districts because we wanted to do that on our second visit to Tokyo at the end of the holiday. So we ticked off some specific landmarks and things that we wanted to see, including Sensoji Temple, the Tokyo Sky Tree, the Meiji Jingu Shrine, Golden Guy, and the Shibuya Scramble Crossing. Seeing the temples and the shrines was one of the most interesting parts of the holiday for me. I really liked seeing how different the culture is over in Japan compared to somewhere like the UK. And the intricacies in the designs of these temples was really amazing. My favourite was Meiji Jingu because it had this massive sprawling forest surrounding it and these really tall gates. They were just cool to see, and I got some amazing photos of the gates against the skyline. The thing that shocked me the most was when we visited the Tokyo Sky Tree. Now, I knew that Tokyo was an absolutely massive city. I'd seen comparisons of it against entire sections of the UK, but standing at the top of that sky tree and being able to see city in every single direction non-stop was absolutely insane, and it kind of put into perspective how big this city is and how many people live there. It was kind of beyond words and a little bit unreal, but it was really cool to experience that. We did quite a lot of exploring of the city and we found some really cool places. I particularly really enjoyed going to a train station and just walking and seeing what you could find. There was a little kind of street near the Meiji Jingu Temple which was just so colourful, all these rainbow colours, and it sold all kinds of desserts, and that's not something that I was expecting to come across, but I really enjoyed seeing. We also went to a restaurant along that strip where you had to walk down a flight of stairs, and the food there was so delicious and so cheap. I think we paid about 800 yen each for our meal, and it came with 4 or 5 plates of stuff. It was just crazy, and again, the food was my favourite part of the holiday, and the fact that you could just walk into a restaurant and get an entire entire amazing meal for less than the equivalent of like £6 in the UK was absolutely insane. On our last 2 nights in Tokyo, the first time we were in Tokyo, me and my brother actually went out drinking in Golden Guy, and there are a lot of tourists there, so we were able to talk to people and kind of make pseudo friends with them, and we had a really fun time drinking in Shinjuku. It's definitely something that I'd like to do again and do more, really experience the nightlife and go out and have fun and meet people. It was really awesome, and Golden Guy specifically is such an interesting little place that is different to anything I've seen before. It's all these different kind of bars, but they're 2 or 3, 4, 5 people big, so you're going in with a small group of people and it's so enclosed, but it's very kind of calm and homely. And then there is a tourist bar on the end which did karaoke, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I had a really awesome time, and I kind of wish we'd done it more. But the next part of our trip had to begin, and we headed to Kyoto. Now, we got the bullet train to Kyoto, which was a pretty interesting experience. We struggled to get tickets, first of all, so we had to wait for a little while, but the bullet train itself works really well. The train system in Japan as a whole works really well. It was actually fairly easy to understand after a few days, and the fact that the trains run on time all the time is just completely juxtaposing to the UK, and it was really cool to see, and it made the whole thing so much easier. The only thing that is a bit weird about the trains is how massive the train stations are, especially in Shinjuku. That train station was huge, and the fact you had to walk like half a mile between one platform and another, insanity. As I said about the Tokyo Skytree, this city is humongous, so I can imagine there are thousands of trains, and it kind of makes sense when you put it into that perspective. We stayed just outside of the main city in Kyoto, and the place we stayed in was kind of a traditional Japanese house. It had sliding doors, it had tatami mats, and it was so nice. It was so homely, and the guy that owned it was absolutely awesome, showed us all these nice places we could go to. There weren't any restaurants nearby, or there were very minimal restaurants nearby, but we managed to order in food, and the stuff we tried, we had ramen, and I think I also had tempura one night as well. We didn't stay in Kyoto for too long, but the place we stayed in was really nice and was definitely kind of more of a Japanese aesthetic to it. Whilst we were in Kyoto, we visited 4 places, so of course we had to go and see Nishiki Market. I'm very much into food, as you may have already been able to tell, and this was really awesome to see. It was extremely busy, which was probably the biggest downside. I did manage to try some cool foods, and I liked kind of being able to see it. I would have liked being able to walk through it more securely, but you know, tourist places kind of always have this vibe to them. We also went to a samurai museum, which was just a pretty cool thing. It was a very touristy orientated. It was all in English, so you kind of know exactly who's going there. But it had like an interactive experience as well, and it was fun learning about kind of the history of the samurai in Japan. When we came out of the samurai museum, we also went into a pig cafe where you basically get to go and sit, and pigs come and like sit on you and cuddle up to you and stuff. Unfortunately, the pigs didn't really like me. They would not come on to me, they wouldn't sit on me, nothing, but my brother and my mum had a lot of good fun in there, and I kind of just vibed. The last thing we did in Kyoto was go to the Fushimi Inari Shrine, the Shrine of 1,000 Gates. We didn't manage to get all the way to the top because, if you didn't know this already, me and my family aren't the most physically healthy. So we weren't able to get to the top, but we did go a fair ways up, and again, this was really cool to see. It's a tourist attraction I've seen hundreds of times in videos and photos, and seeing it in real life, it was just as spectacular as I was expecting. I would have loved to go all the way to the top, but sometimes these things just aren't possible, so we went as far as we could, but I got some cool photos, and yeah, it was cool to see that in real life. And that was our stay in Kyoto done. The last place we visited before returning to Tokyo was Osaka. We went to Osaka because it's kind of that normal tourist route to do those 3 main cities, and where we stayed was once again just slightly out of the main city, but it was literally 1 stop from Universal Studios. Now, I hadn't planned this, it was just the Airbnb that I picked, and because we were so close, I was like, we've kind of got to do it. So we did do Universal Studios on one day. We got to go to the Harry Potter world and the Mario world, which were absolutely awesome. I've seen the Harry Potter world already because I've been to Florida, but the Nintendo world was completely something that was brand new, and the attention to detail in both of these places is fantastic, and it's really one of those things that you can only experience there, and I don't really know how to explain it properly. But if you are a fan of those series, those kind of Nintendo, Harry Potter, etc., it really is something that you will not experience anywhere else, and I absolutely loved it. We went on basically every ride that we wanted to. We went during October, so it was also Fright Nights, so it was the first time I got to experience like a theme park at Halloween. That was amazing. There were so many people, but all of these costumed people. We got zombies running around. There was a Resident Evil experience, which was basically a live maze that you walked through with actors, and the choreography of these actors was insane. They might not have even been actors. It could have been animatronics. Like, the choreography was insane. We did both routes because there was a Leon Kennedy and a Claire route, and we did them both, and it was so good. It was the best live maze I've ever been in, and I've been in a fair few. I don't even know how to explain it. It was so good, and I hope that's something that kind of other people get to experience because that was phenomenal. We also went on a load of different rides. We did the Forbidden Journey Harry Potter ride, we did the Mario Kart Mario ride, we did the Yoshi Mario ride, and we also did the kind of pterodactyl ride in the Jurassic Park world, which is the best roller coaster I've ever been on. I'm a big fan of roller coasters, but this one was ridiculous. You sit in it and then it tilts you, so you're facing directly downwards, and I'm gonna tell you, this was the first time I felt actively scared on a roller coaster. It was so good. We tried to basically go on as much stuff as possible, but the highlights were definitely the pterodactyl ride and the Resident Evil experience. That Resident Evil experience is something I'm going to remember forever. That was phenomenal. Enough about me going on and on and on about theme parks, because I just could talk about them for hours and hours and hours. On our first night in Osaka, we went to Dotonbori, which is kind of the Times Square of Japan. It's probably a really bad explanation. It's got all these bright lights, all these billboards, and there are loads and loads and loads and loads of restaurants there. When we were there, we tried this food, which was basically rice with kind of an egg omelette on it, and then pork cutlet or like chicken, and that was really nice. It was a really nice bit of food. There were just thousands and thousands of options of places to go. It was a little bit more expensive than I was expecting compared to like where we were in Tokyo, so we kind of went for something a bit middle range, but the food itself was nice, and the place we went to, I'm pretty sure, is highly renowned for this type of food. The other things we got to see in Osaka were the Osaka Castle. We didn't go inside, but we saw it from around the grounds, and this was a really nice, touching experience. I loved the quietness of it. There weren't too many people. It just had this kind of sense of quiet and calm, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the cooler moments of the whole trip, and there was a guy outside playing music, and I'll play a clip of it now. And that music just fit the vibe so perfectly. I really enjoyed this day out. It was a very calm day out. We were kind of running low on energy nearing the end of our trip. I really enjoyed it. On that same day, we also visited the figure museum, which was cool to see. There weren't as many figures that I liked as I was expecting, but I will just throw up an absolute shed load of pictures and everything that I took on the screen now. It basically showed figures over time. It showed figures in different aesthetics. It wasn't all anime figures, and they also had a big thing about kind of miniature figures with backgrounds. It was cool. It was nice to see, but it probably isn't something that I would 100% recommend to do. And then we finally looped back round to Tokyo. I think we spent 3 more days or 2.5 days days in Tokyo, and this was focused mainly on visiting Akihabara, which is obviously the anime shopping central of Tokyo, and I had to do this. As you can see, I'm into all of that jazz, so I had to do it. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Funnily enough, I kind of enjoyed shopping elsewhere. The prices in Aki were expensive and the selection wasn't as vast as I was expecting, but it was very cool to see those stores. It was very cool to experience that in real life. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the highlight of my trip, and I probably wouldn't be tempted to go again. It was good. We spent a day and a half there, I want to say, and then on our last day we actually visited Ueno Zoo and the Ueno history museum, science and history museum. Ueno Zoo was pretty cool. We got to see pandas, we got to see red pandas, and we got to see other animals that I've never seen before, like a polar bear. I'm not the biggest fan of zoos, and this one really kind of tied into why I don't like them, but we won't get into that. On our last night in Tokyo, we tried a dish called Oko no Miyaki, which is kind of this. It's kind of like a pancake with all stuff on top of it. I don't even know how to explain it. I'll put a photo up on screen. They cook it kind of on the table. The table is like a hot plate and they cook it on there. This was absolutely delicious. It was one of the best things I tried in Japan, and something I've never seen, come across, nothing anywhere else, and it was so good. One thing we did do, arcades. Arcades are fun. Crane games are fun. Crane games cost a lot of money, but I did win this pochita, so I like that. I've probably missed an absolute load of stuff we've done. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait, did we do that? Did we do that? Did we eat that? But this was just a sit down chill video where I was just gonna talk about our experience in Japan. I did buy a fair amount of things in Japan, which I'm going to be showing in a manga haul, which is the next video coming out for you guys. But one of the main things I enjoyed was really going in and shopping. I'm very much a shopping person on a budget, and this was just a different experience, especially Book Off. Book Off was literally my savior. I could have spent hours and hours in there going through their games and their manga, and everything is so cheap. I loved it. It was so cool. My main takeaways from my trip to Japan were that I needed to take some time and rest and have a holiday. It's been a long time since I've taken a large amount of time off, and we were in Japan for around 15 days, so it was a large amount of time, and it was amazing just to relax. We didn't have a strict itinerary. We just went out and enjoyed ourselves and explored, and we ate out every single night, and we tried all this amazing food, and I got to spend time with my family, which was amazing. And really, the holiday itself meant so much to me because it was something so new. It was so different, and it was just refreshing to be able to experience every day and experience something different every day. The country itself is such an amazing culture. Their language is beautiful. The people are friendly, and the vibe of Japan is it felt so relaxed. It felt like everything worked. It felt like everything ticked. Everything seemed simple. You got to remember, there's a massive language barrier here, and yet I was able to experience it so well. And even more than that, it felt safe. I didn't see any violence. I didn't see any theft or crime or people speed racing. It just felt safer than the UK, and I really like that. You've got people putting their bikes, not even locking them. You've got people not locking their doors. It's everything feels nicer, and if I had the experience to, if I had the option to, I'd absolutely love to live there for a period of time, but that's something that the future might hold. So yeah, that was my trip to Japan. I thought I'd just do a kind of cozy sit down video just to kind of talk it through, really just reflect on my memories from my holiday. I've probably forgotten a load of things. We did loads of stuff, and I've kind of picked out the highlights, and I would like to talk about it more, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to do that at some point. But yeah, I have no idea if you've got to the end of this video, and if you have, I really, really appreciate it, because this is something completely different to what I usually upload. So thank you. I want you to leave all of your thoughts, questions, anything in the comments down below. Have you ever visited Japan, or do you want to? Just let me know. I'd be really interested to see everything everything you have to say. If you've enjoyed the video, as always, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be alerted every single time that I upload. Thank you so much for watching. I am so excited to jump into this year with all of you. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye bye.